started like any other morning. I walked outside ready to drive to work, but my car was gone. Not parked somewhere else, not at the shop, just gone. For a moment, I thought maybe it had been stolen. I ran inside and asked my sister if she'd seen it. She looked up from her phone, hesitated, and said, "Maybe it got towed." That hesitation told me everything. After a few tense minutes of questions, she finally confessed. She had sold my car. Just like that. No warning, no permission, nothing. She said she needed the money urgently and thought I'd understand. The car wasn't just metal and wheels to me, it was something I'd worked years for. My first big purchase, a symbol of independence. And she'd taken it like it meant nothing. At first I couldn't even speak. I just stood there trying to process how my own sister could do something like that. When I asked her who she sold it to, she refused to tell me. Said it didn't matter, that she'd fix it later. But that only made me angrier. When I checked online car listings later that day, I saw something that made my stomach twist. My car was there, same license plate, same scratch on the rear bumper, sold just the day before. And the buyer's name was my former boss. That's when the story went from betrayal to something much darker. This wasn't just my sister doing something impulsive. This was manipulation. My boss, the same man who had fired me months ago, had bought my car. And now it all made sense. He must have known she was desperate for money. Maybe he even encouraged it. I called him, trying to stay calm. He answered, and his tone was smug. He said, "I bought it legally. You should have taken better care of your property." His words were sharp, almost rehearsed. That was when I realized he wasn't just involved. He planned this. I went back to my sister, showed her the buyer's name, and she froze.
She hadn't expected me to find out so soon. I demanded to know the truth, and after a long silence, she broke down. She told me he offered her help, said he could give her quick money if she sold something valuable. He promised her it was temporary, that he'd make it right. She believed him. What she didn't realize was that he was using her to get to me. Situations like this are more common than people think.
Studies show that about 1 in 3 families experience some kind of financial betrayal, whether it as a sibling taking money, a parent using savings without asking, or a relative misusing trust. And when manipulation from outsiders gets involved, the damage becomes permanent. I tried to stay calm, but I knew this wasn't something that could be fixed with an apology. I gathered every document I had, the car's registration, purchase receipt, and insurance. The car was in my name. Legally, that made me the owner, no matter who was driving it now. When I went to the police, they took the case seriously. My sister had forged my signature on the bill of sale. That turned it into a criminal matter. She admitted everything, that she'd been pressured, that she thought I'd forgive her, that she was just trying to handle things on her own. But that doesn't make it right. What hurt the most wasn't losing the car, it was realizing my own family could be used against me. Psychologists call this emotional exploitation. When someone uses love or family trust to justify betrayal, the wound goes deeper than any financial loss. I didn't want her arrested, but I needed accountability. The police questioned my ex-boss too. Turns out, he had a history of manipulating employees and exploiting desperate situations. He thought buying my car would humiliate me. Instead, it exposed him. A few weeks later, I got the car back. There was minor damage, but it was still drivable. I should have felt relieved, but I didn't. Every time I looked at it, I saw the betrayal, the lies, the manipulation. Eventually, I sold the car myself. Not for the money, but to move on. Some things carry too much emotional weight to keep around. In the months that followed, my relationship with my sister changed completely. We barely spoke. Even though she apologized again and again, something inside me couldn't fully trust her anymore. That's the thing about betrayal. You can forgive, but you never forget. Experts say that about 60% of siblings who experience a serious financial conflict never fully rebuild their relationship. It's not about the money, it's about broken trust. Once it's gone, the dynamic changes forever. Looking back, I started to understand how everything spiraled. She was under financial stress, and I was so focused on rebuilding my own career that I didn't notice how desperate she was. I wasn't there when she needed emotional support, and someone else stepped in, someone who knew exactly how to manipulate her. That doesn't excuse what she did, but it explains why it happened. People under pressure often make irrational choices. Psychologists call this crisis decision-making, when short-term survival instincts override logic and morality. It's why people steal from loved ones or lie to protect themselves. The human brain prioritizes relief over reasoning in moments of panic. Still, it doesn't make the betrayal hurt any less. After the investigation, I focused on rebuilding. I started a small business, something I'd wanted to do for years. It gave me purpose again, a sense of control. Ironically, that whole mess pushed me toward a better path. Sometimes the worst experiences force you to start living differently. I also learned to protect myself. Now, I keep clear records of every major purchase, every shared asset, every agreement, even with family. It's not about distrust, it's about clarity. When things are written down, there's no room for misunderstanding or manipulation. I think about that morning sometimes, walking out and seeing the empty driveway. It felt like a simple loss at first, just a car. But what I really lost that day was a sense of safety in my own family. That's something no amount of money or apology can replace. If there's one thing this taught me, it's that boundaries are not signs of distance. They're signs of respect. Families that talk openly about money and responsibility tend to stay healthier. Studies show they experience 70% fewer conflicts, and when issues do arise, they resolve faster because trust has structure. For a long time, I asked myself whether I could have prevented this. Maybe if I'd been more open about my sister's struggles, or if she had felt she could come to me without judgment. But that's the complexity of family. Love doesn't always translate into understanding. Sometimes people make choices that force you to see who they truly are. My sister wasn't evil, she was desperate. But desperation doesn't erase accountability. And my former boss wasn't clever, he was cruel. He used someone's weakness to settle a personal grudge. The story could have ended much worse. I could have lost everything: the car, my sister, my peace. Instead, I lost just enough to learn how fragile trust can be. Now, when people talk about forgiveness, I understand it differently. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending it never happened. It means accepting reality and moving forward without letting bitterness control you. It means learning from the pain instead of repeating it. That day taught me that no matter how close you are to someone, trust must have boundaries. And if someone crosses them, the first thing to do isn't to yell or react. It's to step back, stay calm, and protect yourself. Because sometimes the real lesson isn't about who betrayed you. It's about how you rise after they do.